Whether you currently own a heat pump or you're thinking about one, you'll definitely want to pay attention to this video because I'm going to give you one of the messages that most sales reps will never talk about. Right now across the US, we are getting crazy low temperatures. The number one myth that many people hear about is that heat pumps cannot work in cold climates. Now that is absolutely false. Almost every heat pump on the market can operate as low as 0 degrees. Many of them now include a function called hyperheat that can allow a heat pump to effectively operate down to -20 degrees, and some can even go lower. But that's where the lies begin. Now just because something can function at a lower temperature doesn't mean it's better or efficient. When your temperatures go below about 20 degrees, heat pumps no longer operate effectively. They can still generate heat, but they become much less efficient. Now, efficiency just means that your electric bill is going to get higher during those cold times. And generally, that's not a big deal if you're just going to have a month or two each year. But that isn't the end of the story. What these guys don't tell you is during cold temperatures, your heat pump will likely not be able to comfortably heat your space. Now, if you've got a really new house with lots of insulation, this may be less of an issue. If you've got a house that's 15 years or older, you are definitely going to experience problems, especially if you're solely depending on that heat pump. So how on earth can this be true? Because everyone is talking about heat pumps. I have made many videos about them. I've shown you my Mr. Cool installations where I put one at my house here, down at a friend's house, and they work tremendously well. They are awesome air conditioners, and they can also be effective heaters. Why on earth did I have a Mitsubishi system put in my house here where there's snow on the ground and it is freezing here all throughout the winter? Well, the answer is simple. You've got to learn about something called supplemental heating. When the temperature goes below about 30 degrees, the efficiency drops way down. That means your electric bill is going to begin to skyrocket. So what they will do is install something called supplemental heating. These can be something like electric heat strips, or even a system called hydro heat that uses hot water combined with your heat pump to deliver the best efficiency you can get in colder climates. Why would you go ahead and put a heat pump in and another heating system? Well, that's usually not the case. Supplemental heating options are going to vary per manufacturer. Now, you can certainly use your heat pump during the winter and try it out for your first or second year, but don't be shocked on really cold days if you're just not going to get enough heat out of it to keep your space comfortable. Now, if you've got a hang-in-the-wall unit like many people do with mini splits, you're likely going to need to get either a space heater or something like a pellet stove just to offset the temperature on those really cold days. But then there's another type of heat pump that are becoming much more popular. That's the ducted type. These use a central system along with your outside compressor, and they deliver that hot air throughout your home. They still rely on the exact same heat pump setup, so they're not any better in cold weather. They require a supplemental system, but these ducted systems have that as an option. So if you're getting this variety in your home, to ask what kind of supplemental heating options they give. Now, this particular system here uses hydro heat. This actually allows my other system in my house, which is a boiler, to pump hot water through the air plenum, and that delivers a boost during the heating times so that it can be more efficient, and it ends up delivering enough hot air to comfortably heat the space. But other companies like Mr. Cool, Senville, even things like Mitsubishi, has another option that's electric heat. Now, normally electric heat, especially resistance heating, is a really bad idea, but these guys do it differently. All these companies offer the option of putting these electric resistance strips into the ducted system. Now, these aren't going to work all the time. The system knows the temperature that it's delivering and how well it's performing. When it detects that it's not able to keep up with the demand, it activates these heat strips. These are similar to the elements inside your dryer, and they create a lot of heat. So much heat in such a short amount of time that it allows the system to get that kind of turbo boost. It will heat your space, and now the heat pump can just maintain the temperature that you want. And while that does use a lot of power for a brief amount of time, it is much less electricity than just simply running your heat pump endlessly, trying to make up a temperature during those cold days. Now, some of this is going to depend on where you live, how old your house is, and what your preferences are. Some people want to have a much higher temperature in their space, so if your system can't reach it, that's going to cause you troubles. But if you're living somewhere like North Carolina, where you're in more of the middle of the country, your heating demand will likely not be enough, and a heat pump will probably work fine for you without any sort of supplemental heating. But if you're in an area like I am in New Hampshire, Vermont, or Maine, or any of the colder states, you are absolutely going to want to ensure that you've got some type of supplemental heating. So if you're considering any type of a heat pump for your home, if it's going to be a hang-on-the-wall unit, you're going to need to realize that if you're in a real cold climate and an older house, you will likely need something else to heat that space on those really cold days. And the reason these are failing is because people are not being told that the heat pump they're getting will function on those really cold days, but it's not able to keep up with the demand. Fortunately, most of those supplemental heating strips are actually pretty inexpensive, and they've already got a spot that they can be easily installed. But if you don't mention them, most installers are never going to include them, and if you're in a cold climate, once you're running your system, you're probably not going to be as comfortable as you want. So the bottom line is heat pumps are awesome. They make amazing air conditioners, and they can be very effective heaters. But in terms of ultra cold climates, if you're going to depend on a heat pump, you really need to make sure that it can meet the demands of your home. And I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the Silver Symbol channel for more videos coming up.
When it comes to heat pumps and air conditioners, they're actually very similar. Today, I wanted to share my experience with heat pumps and focus on how they operate to give you cooling in the summer and heating in the winter. Many new techs get intimidated when they work in an area predominantly with gas-electric systems, and then they have to work on heat pumps. The same goes for those who work on heat pumps a lot and then have to work on gas furnaces. It's foreign to those new techs, and they feel less confident working on those systems. Today we're going to try and clarify those mysterious thoughts so that you can better understand them. So if you didn't already know, in cooling mode, the heat pump works just like an air conditioner, in that a 24-volt signal comes to the outdoor contactor to turn that unit on. The contactor switch gets pulled in, which allows the 240 volts from the one side of the contactor onto the other side so that the voltage can make its way to the capacitor that supports the compressor and the condenser fan motor. The refrigerant cycles through the system and basically makes the indoor evaporator coil a cold coil and the outdoor units coil the hot coil. At the evaporator coil, a fan blows across the cold coil and sends that cold air into the duct system and onto the rooms of the house. We remove the heat from the inside of the house at the outdoor unit and pull it to the outdoor coil to be released into the atmosphere. A heat pump just has a reversing valve that reverses the flow of refrigerant to make the indoor coil the hot coil and the outdoor coil the cold coil. So we're trying to extract heat from the outside and bring it inside, which can be done down to a certain outdoor temperature. After that, there's very little heat in the air to extract, so heat strips will kick on to supplement that effort. Now, heat strips are a wire coil that is strung out across a rack that sits in the blower motor's airstream. They get so hot, they even glow bright orange. They're great, but they're super expensive to run. A regular occurrence with the heat pump in the heating season is for the outdoor unit to go through a defrost cycle. You can imagine the cold outdoor coil interacting with the cold outdoor temperatures is going to cause some freezing. Anytime that outdoor coil gets below 32 degrees, the cold coil develops frost on it. And it can't keep operating this way, or frost will develop into a straight up ice block. So a temperature sensor is mounted onto the outdoor coil to monitor this situation. When enough frost develops on the coil, a defrost board inside the heat pump's control panel will energize, sending it into a defrost signal. Another sensor is included here. It's an ambient temperature sensor. The difference between the ambient and the outdoor coil temperatures is the difference, or delta T measurement. This delta T measurement is what ultimately determines the need to go into defrost. Defrost only works in heating mode too. Now that the sensor on the outdoor coil has signaled to the defrost board that it's time to go into defrost, a few things are going to happen. The defrost board is the quarterback for this whole play too. Because the outdoor coil was the cold coil and freezing up, we need something to melt that outdoor coil so that it can function properly again. So the reversing valve lets out a big whooshing sound and reverses the flow of refrigerant. So we can essentially go into air conditioning mode again and make the outdoor coil the hot coil. At the outdoor unit, you'll notice that the heat pump's fan motor will stop running too. This is to help warm up the coils faster, because if we were drawing cold air across the outdoor coils when we were trying to warm them up, it would be counterproductive. Inside at the air handler, the fan still blows, which means that there's cold air coming out of the ducts. But the air handler's heat strips come on to neutralize the cold air. All this happens until the outdoor coils are warm enough to go back into heat mode and become the cold coil again, maybe 45 to 90 seconds. One last time, the reversing valve makes the big whooshing sound and switches the flow of refrigerant back to the heating mode. The outdoor fan turns on and the heat strips turn off. The indoor coil becomes the hot coil again, and the outdoor coil becomes the cold coil again. Whew! Real quick, I wanted to mention that this method of defrost control is called defrost on demand. Some older